Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, and tonight I'm joined by Tate as we review the new film, a spoiler-free review, which we'll get into shortly, The Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad 2, which is actually probably more important, which we'll get to as well. But how are we tonight, Tate?
We're doing okay, actually. We're doing good. Very interested to talk about this film. I know this one's going to be a little bit of a shorter one, a spoiler-free one, and we'll go into the spoilers later on. I believe we're going to get Chris on as well for that to get his opinion in. But yeah, looking forward to this. Looking forward to this review.
Definitely, and I want to say, people, the reason, please keep the comments spoiler-free. I know you probably will, but this is an insane film, and we can't fit in the discussion we want to in the time we have tonight. So we're going to come back next week. We'll let the film come out in America so the American people can watch it as well. And then we're going to do it because, I mean, I guess it's a really vague thought. This isn't something you can summarize so quickly and do it justice because it was extraordinary. I'm going to leave that there as my basic statement before we head into it. But as always, I'm going to pass over to you with the socials. We're going to go through some of them where they can find us.
Yes. So if you'd like to find out some of our upcoming videos, then be sure to follow us on our various different social media platforms, but also be sure to comment below with your thoughts on the Suicide Squad. Like the video, comment, share, subscribe, all that. And go on to find us at Facebook, that's Cinema Savvy, Twitter, Cinema_Savvy, Letterboxd, Cinema Savvy again, and go to the link in the description, pick up a t-shirt from TeePublic.
Definitely. So everybody check them out. And as always, obviously, we're going to kickstart this review. Thoughts heading in. So this is a weird one because if you'd have told me 5 years ago there's going to be a new Suicide Squad, I'd have been like, please, no thank you. I never want to see this again in my life. You have ruined the chance to do this. Please leave, as Christian Bale once said. And then along came James Gunn, which 180'd everything possible. And we'll get into that. But the main thing I want to say of this, heading into this, knowing it's a James Gunn film, looking at the cast who is involved in this, I was excited, intrigued, but not fully there yet. And then when the reviews came out, which is extraordinary, it's sitting at 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. That was it. I was like, I know this is going to be what I wished it could be, which was a really big thing for me. But heading in, I was very nervous, but then eventually optimistic. But given the shit show from 5 years ago, it was the right way to be because no one could have imagined, especially when they're bringing back a few characters, which we'll also get into. But that was my main thing. I was excited to see it. And again, I'm going to keep saying this all year round. It's lovely to see a nice blockbuster that is new at a cinema, at an IMAX. It was, I don't know if it was shot on IMAX, but it was the IMAX full screen. So that was really nice to get that. And it was pretty packed. It's the most packed I've been at a screening since Tenet. So that was nice to see as well.
Yeah, no, it was lovely going to the cinema, and my cinema screening, I saw one quite early in the morning, but there was people there. It was exciting to kind of have that atmosphere build up in the cinema. Obviously, I'm sure people would have been deterred from this film given the first film that came out. The first film is trash. I don't think we need to go back and mention any more about that first film. But since then, DC has gone through kind of a weird set of films. They've had some films that have worked and some films that really haven't. You had the terrible Justice League original cut, the kind of okay second longer cut of that, which tries to fix some things, works in some ways, definitely doesn't work in others. But you do have Birds of Prey in there, which I think is almost like a prelude to this film and stuff like that, because it's got Harley Quinn in it, who is a character who's been brought across from all of these films. Brilliant acting from Margot Robbie in all of them so far, and is almost now considered a fan favorite from DC, just from the film catalogue, is probably the fan favorite across all the films. So really interesting run up to this film with all those films going on. But then you bring in James Gunn and the stuff that he's done with Marvel and the stuff that he's done with other films, and bringing in that just complete wacky nature. That man knows how to do superhero films. Like, he really does. He knows how to build up the characters. He does the research into all of them. He goes back and looks through the entire catalogue. And going into this film, I was excited purely out of the fact that he'd gone through, did the research, and went, here are loads of different characters that have never been put on screen from DC. I think they'd be hilarious in a Suicide Squad film. We're going to add them in and we're going to see how it works. And it is fantastic for that level of chaos that it brings. It is really, really good.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big thing. You mentioned he did his research. He did a tweet last year. I think it was during the Fandom, which is a terrible name for a convention. And he said he read every single Suicide Squad issue ever printed across however many decades they've done them. He was already a fan, but he reread every single one as research. He was able to pick people out. And I think a really big thing was, although the first one is terrible, is rubbish, and it isn't referenced in this film. I know we're keeping it spoiler free, but this is not a sequel. This is not a reboot. This is almost like it's a Suicide Squad film, and these characters exist, which is the best way you can have that approach. And he did thank David Ayer in the credits. Obviously, we know it wasn't David Ayer's cut that was shown at the cinemas back in 2016 as well, but obviously he probably got permission from us to use them. But I think it's very telling when you've got a brand new director, and the main thing he's done, he's brought back a couple of faces from the last one. And it's that kind of giving them more. I mean, we know that Captain Boomerang's in it, who was one of the few good things in the first one. Rick Flag was in it. Well, is in the film. And I saw it once. He was okay. It just wasn't a good film for really anyone. And obviously Margot Robbie returning, who you couldn't not have in this, I think, which is a massive thing for this one. But the really big thing about James Gunn, which is I need to thank some nutcases for this, to the Donald Trump supporters that went through his tweets and Instagram posts from 12 years ago to find some really weird photos, which he'd already apologized for those guys that temporarily got him cancelled for a couple of months, that allowed him to then get a Suicide Squad film, and then to also go back and not just do a Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but a Christmas special Guardians of the Galaxy. I want to thank all of them, because we wouldn't be here talking about this tonight. We'd probably have Guardians 3 out by now, which is pretty cool. But we got a James Gunn Suicide Squad film. And going back to the Warner Brothers conversation 5 years ago, they took David Ayer's not Warner Brothers, they took David Ayer's Suicide Squad, and they tried to make it like Guardians of the Galaxy, with the music, with the trailers, with the colors. And then eventually the chance came, and hey, why don't we actually just get James Gunn this time around? And they did. So credit to them for giving him the creative freedom, which I think is a really big theme of why this film works, is that it is him calling the shots. You can tell. I don't want to say he's an auteur, but James Gunn has reached a point for me now where you can tell it's a James Gunn film. I think it's the way how he can. I know this is sort of a plain overview, but he can characterize people that shouldn't be. Not that they shouldn't be characters, but he made a talking tree and a raccoon, not just fan favorites, but compelling characters. And I'm going to sort of jump in, and I know the performances. This is ensemble piece, which is a massive thing. Lots of cameos, which he hints at, lots of like returning people that he's friends with, lots of new faces, lots of actors. Every character in this, I feel, has a story arc. The long-term characters, that's the loosest term I can say. But I feel that everyone has a character. I'm trying not to spoil it, because if I say XYZ is in it for 2 minutes, or XYZ is in it for 2 hours, to me that's a spoiler. So I'm being really careful of how I say that.
You can get around it by saying it's a Suicide Squad film. It's kind of in the title. They are there to die. And there are a lot of character deaths in this film. There are a lot of brutal deaths in this film, I'd like to add as well. I don't remember the first Suicide Squad film being this graphic in some of the ways that deaths are portrayed on screen. In comedic ways as well. It's played off the comedy, the kind of gratuity that comes with it, which I think is very well done. But for the characters that kind of last for a while in the film, the ones that kind of stick with the entire kind of plot all the way through, they're all given very, very well thought out, very good character arcs. You understand all of their stories, and you kind of come to grow and love those characters. To go with that, the performances, even from the people who just kind of cameo in this film, the people who are in it for not very long, the people who are in it for a very long time, it's fantastic. Every single actor knocks it out the park. I can't think of a single bad performance from this film. And that's strange to say when it's such a huge cast and such a kind of a big blockbuster film. Brilliant.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try and find a loophole here. Carl's got a comment. I want to bring this up.
Yes.
Ratcatcher was the standout for me. Loved her storm performance. Yes, I am with you. I saw a lot of people saying good things about her online, saying that's the one they were rooting for, and I agree with that. I loved her. Let's bring up that thumbnail again.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about the characters on here, right? If they've got a poster thing of these, how many are there? 6 or 7? I personally think they're all great. I don't think there is one bad person from this film, and I'm going to be completely honest and say that. And that's a very biased, easy thing to take. But if I'm going to pick a standout, and this isn't performance, this isn't character arc, it's John Cena as Peacemaker. Now, this is going to be the usual boring wrestling thing that I used to always talk about. That I used to love watching wrestling, and the amazing thing when I used to watch wrestling, I hated John Cena, right? But that was the thing. I wasn't an 8-year-old, so he is the god for the 8-year-olds, and I was like 16 to 20 plus, whatever. And I want to see him do something different. I don't want to see him being John Cena. You can't see me always winning, always doing it perfect. And his move into films, I still love him. I just wanted to change him in wrestling, and the roles he is taking, obviously, Bumblebee was like I'd say a bumpy start, that trying to get him into the big films, become that name, and you can't just do it at the click of a finger. Normally, I'd say you need to be like The Rock and do a Fast and Furious film, which he did. She was great in, but it wasn't, you look at John Cena, you think Peacemaker is his role, right? This is going to be the role that not necessarily defines him, but this is the one that makes him the already A-lister become a bigger film star. And we know he's getting his own series, which is already filmed, which is also incredible to think about. They've already shot a show over lockdown for John Cena. And he's coming back to wrestling. I haven't watched it for 4 years now, but I saw that he came back to one of the biggest pops apparently in the last 20 years. But John Cena in this is absolutely incredible. And it's because that we know he can do action and we know he can do comedy, but it's being able to get both out of him the right way. And he is just phenomenal at doing it. And I'm not going to sit here and say he's got a lot to do, but his character, I think, leaves the impression of I need to see more from him in terms of the character and the actor. And I think I've had that with a lot of the cast. I can't fault many of them, but I knew I was going to love Cena. But just seeing, he's been doing press wearing his costume. He's walking through the streets of LA in costume. What can you say about him? I thought he was one of the standouts for me personally.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. His character was fantastic throughout the entire film. Dare I say, a character that suits James Gunn's writing style.
Yeah.
Kind of that a little bit quippy, but also kind of having that brutality behind him, that dead seriousness, and that kind of is how the comedy works off. For me personally, I'd have to split my vote there between the people on the poster. If I had to pick one outright, I'd probably say Polka Dot Man. Just because of how wacky the character is, kind of from the comics and stuff like that, brought to life on the screen brilliantly by, I will get his name wrong, David Dastmalchian, who I recognized from The Dark Knight and recognized also from Prisoners and Blade Runner and stuff like that.
And
so
he's going to be in June.
Before. He's in June as well. I've seen that as well, that he was on the kind of character list and stuff like that. What a performance to kind of bring out your I'm doing bigger roles now kind of thing. Fantastic. I can't wait to see more of him, because in this film, even in the trailers, you can kind of see his kind of very deadpan, bland kind of nihilism, kind of always kind of but with his superpower that he's got and kind of the way he presents himself in the film, I think his arc is probably one of the best, one of the funniest, one of the fullest, that he has a full arc throughout the entire film. But really, really liked his character, really liked his performance. And I do have to give a nod as well, just to the shark in the room, because, we're discussing this beforehand. George isn't the biggest fan of sharks. We've wanted to get him watching Jaws on a live stream before, but I doubt that's ever going to happen. Unless there's like a re-release and we get to go see it in the cinema with him. But King Shark, fantastic character as well, really funny in the film.
I'd watch Jaws if some monster CGI'd it to be King Shark for the entire film, where if it was going to be that kid on the lilo and you heard a nom nom from Sylvester Stallone, someone's probably going to do it. Someone's probably going to do it in the next few months, aren't they? Yeah. I don't know what's I had this dilemma where I really enjoyed his character. He has a bit of a story arc, I'd say. They try and actually, it's like the tree dynamic with Guardians. They made a tree of characters. They made a shark, a character. He's trying to learn English. He's trying to become intelligent, and it's quite compelling that he's the last of his kind type sort of storyline with him. And I've really enjoyed it. And it was just Stallone that sold it. Every time he came on screen, I just kind of sat there half of me is watching the film and the other half is me watching in my head I wonder how Stallone is sat in the studio delivering these lines. I want to see the video of Sylvester Stallone saying nom nom. It shouldn't be right, but it will. And again, it's like the whole Groot dynamic, isn't it? That Vin Diesel just saying I am Groot for a whole film. it was just amazing of the King Shark. But I was kind of like, sometimes I'd be scared. Like there'd be shots like when they do like close-ups of him, and it's just like his thin face and stuff. You'd be like, it doesn't look like a shark, but it's like still shark-esque. There's been so many fucking sharks in the James Bond films. It starts doing right, and then with this one, it's like, but it's Stallone as a shark, and he's kind of cute. Like he's like the he's like the grit. And I think there's a lot of comparisons to Guardians that a lot of people say like this is the sort of guy. I mean, someone's like this is Guardians on drugs. I say this is like Guardians on like cocaine, like to the highest like Scarface level. And I'd say that, and then I was thinking back to Super. I don't know if you've seen that the Rainn Wilson film that James Gunn did, and I saw it once. I wasn't a big fan, but I kind of want to go back to it because this film feels a bit like it's the violence is what you said. It's like his directing style, and I wonder if this is the more kind of untamed James Gunn that we've had kind of restricted. And I'm not going to sit here and do it. I don't want to rate our Guardians. I honestly don't. But I'm curious to see what it is because we know Guardians 3 is his last one. He said that he's got the Christmas special before or the holiday special. Now here's a question we've not planned. Could you see him doing a sequel to this? Personally, I really want to, but I don't want to at the exact same time. That can lightning strike twice, right? But this is what they said about Guardians of the Galaxy, and they continue to be great. But I am there like, could he do another Suicide Squad film? I want to say yes, but I'd be too hopeful. And so it's a really interesting one because if he is done with Guardians, I could see them coming back for him. Like, to sit at 98%. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, it's the biggest of the nonsense that when it's in your favor, it's in your favor. When it's not, it's not. But for a comic book film to sit on 98% is extraordinary. And, I read one of the bad reviews, which was absolute nonsense. I very rarely say that. I was just curious to see, some people naturally didn't like it, which is fine. But one of them was just uttering stuff that isn't in the film, which just didn't make sense. But it was just one of them where I was so happy to see some, and it felt fresh. Like, this is in the DCEU. I didn't feel like I watched a DCEU film. No. This felt too fun. You're allowed to sit there and enjoy yourself. And, I'm not going to get into a whole day debate. He did do a tweet. Him and James Gunn get on. They've been tweeting with each other. They're fine with each other. And David Ayer wants his cut. They will never release it, especially with how good this film is. But, is there room for another one? I don't know. I think there could be.
I think so. I honestly do. I think with the success of this film, I think this film's going to do fantastically. Yeah. It's a fun film. You can always bring in more characters that people have never heard of. And that's something that you can always do. You can bring back characters that make it through to the end of this film. You can bring back characters that we used in the first film that didn't come back for this one. You have so much possibility because you've got all of DC Comics to go from. It doesn't have to be someone from the Suicide Squad. It could be a one-off villain in a Green Lantern or Flash comic from the 1970s or something like that. You can just pull in just because the name of the character sounds funny. And I think it'd work in a Suicide Squad film. That's this is such an open book of a film kind of idea, and they completely messed up the first one. And they've got this one right. And if they're able to stick with this mold with kind of not a villain of the week kind of thing, but big villain kind of build up to it, maybe throw in an extra kind of, I'm sure there'll be another Harley Quinn film coming out. They can't kind of misuse that character in any way, shape or form because she at the moment is still the face of the entire DC EU from the films. I think there's endless possibilities here. I think they would be ridiculous for them to not make another film of this and, I don't know, call it the Suicide Squad or something like that. I don't know, like if you're going Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, what's the next progression of the film title? Like, seriously.
Yeah, it's one I'd be intrigued by. I think it could happen. This is what I've kind of said, that Jungle Cruise is a weird one. That I would love to have seen the box office numbers pre-pandemic because we don't know where we're at right now. We don't know what's to hit and what's not. I mean, we know financially they're all going to be taking hits, as in losses, but this is rated R, and I want to know how this is going to come out in America next week. That releasing it a week early for us has helped word of mouth even more than reviews. And I said it was a busy showing the other day. Summer holidays now for the kids, so there'll be more people off. But because we don't know where the box office stands, I don't know what right now would count benchmark as if this was a great hit. Given that it's going to be on HBO Max next Friday, which is also causing a problem. I mean, I think Warner Brothers is settled, so we don't need to worry about them getting sued by James Gunn and the entire Suicide Squad cast this week. Whereas, Emma Stone's waiting. I bet The Rock and Emily Blunt's next. So we're in for an interesting few 3 months at Disney. But no, it's a weird one. And sort of with that, and my kind of final thoughts on this, that this is, I mean, I'm not dropped. It's really hard to talk this film, by the way, without spoilers, because we're being so careful how we tread. But to me, this is one of the best comic book films ever made. And I don't drop statements like that lightly. And when I say the best, there is 100 plus now. So when I say one of the best, that isn't like top 3.
Yeah, okay,
of the best.
Enough.
I'm saying that when I sit there and think on my head, this is probably going to be a top 10 of 100 plus there are now, and I think that's growing me. So I'm seeing it again on Tuesday. I'm very excited to go again. I'm intrigued to see the crowd midweek, see if it still works second time. Because Guardians, I saw like 3-4 times at the cinema, and I had so much fun every experience I've ever seen that first film. And I'm really hoping for the same with this. But kind of that's the politest sort of final thoughts. It's not. I don't even have a criticism. Even the villain Starry was fucking great. And like, it's a giant starfish, but who's going to make a giant starfish work as a villain? The guy that made a talking tree and raccoon works. So I'm just going to leave that there. Like, it's a kaiju. Yeah. Why not? Like, I'd rather they didn't have a horrible, boring, depressing, person turns on them all along type thing. Just have a giant starfish to fight. It's great, and it works.
Very difficult to negotiate with a starfish. That's all I'm saying. But no, if I'm going into my final thoughts as well, I won't be as bold to make a statement that you've done saying top 10. But this film, I think, on rewatch is going to grow on me, and it's going to grow on me. It's going to grow on me. It could end up being there. It isn't there just yet for me, but I did thoroughly enjoy this film. I think this is absolutely on par with the first Guardians of the Galaxy, possibly even better. I'm not sure. At the moment, in my head, it's on level par, but that is such a huge statement because I absolutely adore that film. And what James Gunn has done with this, and what all of the kind of actors, the characters, everyone in this production has made a fun DC film. How have they done that?
Yeah,
like it's like an impossible task that they've managed to somehow get around. And yeah, I'd be thoroughly excited if they did more kind of with the characters in this universe. I know we're getting a Peacemaker TV series that's already been filmed, but I would love to see another Suicide Squad film off the back of this. I can't believe I'm saying that after the first film came out. I know you said that at the start, but that's how good this film actually is. And I can't wait to get into a full spoiler-filled discussion about it, just so I can talk about it more.
No, exactly. Really quick comment by Carl. I need to say it again. I saw an empty screening. Needs to crowd. The crowd were great. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Off topic. Cineworld. Don't know why they've now dropped it to one person next to you, because it did feel a bit uneasy for the first time. Not as bad as John Cruise, but there were 7 people in my screening, and 2 of them sat directly behind me because they're bellends. And a quick comment by Arjun. Do you know anything about Spider-Man No Way Home? No, I don't. But if Tobey Maguire's not in it, don't bother. That's all I'm going to put. But it is Spider-Man Day, but nothing's coming out, so don't get your hopes up. But I think that wraps it up for our spoiler-free Suicide Squad video. Again, this is a pretty compelling review to do, a hard review, especially when we've all seen it and it is out for us to watch over here. But as we said, we're going to be back next week. We don't have a date yet. We don't have a date when that's going to come up. But when we do, we will, of course, let you know on our social medias. So we want to hear from you guys. Let us know your thoughts on Suicide Squad. If you've seen it, if you've not seen it, are you looking forward to it? What are your questions? Who do you think? And if you haven't seen it, comment. Who do you think is going to last the longest? Because that's the roulette game, right? And I don't mind saying this, that there's a great joke at the start where the staff are betting on who's going to survive all the stuff. And it's great because that's the conversations everyone's been having at home with it. So let us know your thoughts. And of course, hit us up on those social medias, which is Facebook, Cinema Savvy, Twitter at Cinema_Savvy, letterbox.com, and a TeePublic link, which is in the description below. As I said, when we've got a date for that, we will announce it. There's a lot of other things coming out this week. We've got our License to Kill reviews going to come out this Tuesday, the 3rd of August. So that's going to be going up on the channel. That one's been pre-recorded. There's a couple new movie reviews that are going to be coming out as well. There's going to be a Jungle Cruise review at some point, Suicide Squad, and I swear there's another film, but at this point in time, I don't actually know.
I mean,
it should have been. Should have been the Green Knight.
Films out. Old is out.
Just think in an alternate world, the Green Knight was coming out on the 6th of August.
Still angry. I'm still angry about that.
And it's already out in America. They've all seen it this week and they all love it, which is embarrassing.
Fucking rave reviews as well. It's really angering me that we still have no word on any form of UK release or online release. Like, it's ridiculous.
That's A24. That's A24 for you with their non-US distribution method. So as we said, when there were reviews, We'll get them out. We'll let you know when they come in. Social media is the best place to grab us on them. Don't expect the Green Knight. I keep thinking the last no, it's not Transformers. It's definitely not Transformers. But leaving us on a Michael Bayhem ending, I want to thank everybody for watching tonight, and be sure to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.